Hello everyone, this is Candice Van Wyk and hope you're all well. And it's so good to be connecting with you all. I wanted to do a live reflections from the beautiful lodge that we are at this weekend. But of course we had some connectivity issues. We're here in the bush. And I think I'll only be able to upload this later today or maybe even tomorrow. But nevertheless, I did say to you that I was going to share some inspiration with you this weekend. And I'm actually looking forward to doing that. But before I do that, I just want to introduce you to my crew this weekend. So we had the opportunity to spend the whole weekend together. So I've got my beautiful friend Togidah Eriksen with me.
Hi everyone.
Awesome. And then this is my hubby.
Hi everyone.
That's Peter. And then this is Ryan, Togidah's husband. And of course, they're also very good friends of ours. Thanks guys. Thank you for saying hi to everyone. And so just to tell you a little bit about this weekend, so Togidah, who's over here, actually invited us to a marriage enrichment weekend, and the church hosts this particular seminar. I think this is the second year running.
Yeah, no, they've had before, but it's first time that they went that this big with the Go for Gold marriage enrichment weekend.
Awesome. So I think, maybe just tell us a little bit about the marriage enrichment weekend and why you started it, and also, really what the main objective is for hosting these events. And then I think I'll go straight into my sharing, and then, you can also share with us.
It's actually my pastor and his wife, Pastor Rennie Julius and Pastor Ursula Julius.
Yes.
God laid it on their heart to enrich or to invest back into married couples' lives by taking them on an enrichment weekend. So it's all about word, it's all about experience, it's all about sharing their past testimonies and how they can help one another in the ministry to uplift couples. As we all know, the enemy is out to break up marriages, because if you have a broken home, you have broken individuals. And broken individuals will lead to broken communities, which in turn will lead to broken cities, and broken down structures. So if we focus on the household, Candy, and focus on man and wife, that'll mean that the family bonds are stronger, your community bonds are stronger. So I think what my pastor and his wife are doing is absolutely incredible. They're looking at hosting this every year at Mabula. And
Awesome. And what an experience, there's so much that I got from this weekend. And I think before I go into that, I just want to share with you that, Togidah also recently started her own business. And, we're all about, women in business, supporting women in business. And I think I just also, Togidah, so you hosted us for the weekend, and she did a phenomenal job. I mean, she arranged everything. We are at a 5-star lodge.
4-star. Mabula Lodge is
4-star lodge. It's beautiful. For those of you who know Mabula Lodge, who've been here before, you of course, you know the area, you know the lodge, and it's been a wonderful experience, from the food, to the accommodation, to the staff, and of course Togidah and her husband giving us such great service. Oh, I didn't know I was going to put her on the spot today. So she's actually caught off guard, but I think it's also important for her just to tell us a little bit about her business. And then of course, for those of you, who maybe need assistance with hosting your events, she's been doing this for many years. She's got experience in terms of hosting large groups, small groups, or whatever your requirements are. And of course, she makes sure that, everything goes according to plan. So just tell us a little bit more about your business, and if people want to get, if they want to use your services, how can they contact you?
So we haven't launched a web page yet. It's Tiqwati Corporations, which means hope in God. So we're going to be focusing more on events and business, corporate, or personal leisure events. How you can get a hold of me, I think, Candy, if you can just maybe drop my contact details on your page somewhere. We don't have a live web page as yet, but as soon as we do, we'll definitely share it with Candice.
Awesome. Thanks, Togidah. So definitely we will share Togidah's contact details with you on the comments page, and then you'll be able to also. So I'm back again, everyone. Apologies for that. Just lost a little bit of connection on the side, but nevertheless I'm right back to share with you. So that was Togidah Eriksen, one of my very good friends who's recently started her own business. And of course, as I said to you, if you are looking for assistance with events and that type of thing, she's definitely able to support you with her services. And of course, I will share her contact details a little bit later. But as we said, we attended a marriage enrichment seminar this weekend, and normally, I talk about property or business, and from time to time I will bring in other topics, but of course I just thought it's relevant to do a topic, on marriages, because that's of course what we were here for this weekend, a marriage enrichment seminar. So there were so many lessons and learnings, from Apostle Reni first of all, and his beautiful wife, Pastor Ursula. They really shared their heart with us, and they shared their experiences with us. And just in them sharing, there was so much that we could just absorb and just take in and learn as part of their marriage experiences. They've been married for over 30 years. So, of course, they've got a lot of years behind them. And, of course, they're also in ministry, so they've had the opportunity to also work with, many couples over the years. But, just a few things that I took away from this weekend, and, that I would just like to share with all of you. And I think it's just maybe some food for thought or some insight for thought, but really just to share with you my heart, and, that I was so inspired and encouraged. Firstly, my husband and I haven't been married for long. We've been married for just over 3 years, and of course, we learned this weekend, and I think, you hear it from time to time, but we were 42 couples in this enrichment seminar this weekend, and it doesn't matter whether you've been married for 1 night, 1 year, 3 years, 30 years, 37 years. There are similar experiences that we go through as married couples, and from time to time, we don't always understand some of the challenges and the obstacles that we face, and we need a little bit of encouragement and support in terms of helping us to navigate our way through those challenges and those obstacles. And I do believe that this weekend we were really not only provided with a toolbox, but we were provided with specific tools that will be able to help us to navigate our way through some of these challenges. But I think one of the biggest things that really stood out for me is that, sometimes in relationships, you're so quick to see the other person's faults, and, you have this perception of how you want them to be and how you believe they should be. And I think really the main thing that stood out for me this weekend, and especially it all came together this morning for me, as we were ending the sessions, and we just received the last encouragement from Apostle Reni. It all just came together to me that it's so important to work on yourself. So before you look at anyone else's issues, or before you look at anyone else's problems, start working on yourself first. And even in marriage, and we can take this for any other area in our lives, that we need to, in order to improve in a particular area, in order to have a better experience, whether it be in business, whether it be in your current work role, whether it be in relationships, in your marriage, you need to look at yourself first. And of course, one of the other things that I also took away from this weekend was that, because we are Christians, and, we believe that we are not only in covenant with one another as part of our marriage experience, but we are also in covenant with God. And that God is in covenant with us as part of our marriage. So it's so important to also involve Him as far as your marriage is concerned. And of course, for those of us who are believers, we know that we need to involve Him, in fact, acknowledge Him in every single area of our lives. But I think that was really just emphasized, this weekend, how important it is really to have God not only as your God and your Father, but have Him, be actively involved in your marriage. If there are certain challenges that you need to overcome, and then of course, involve Him and ensure that you reach out to Him so that He can also help you through those situations. And what was so awesome about this weekend was that there were so many different couples, and everyone that spoke, there was some sort of encouragement that we could give. And many of us don't know one another. And of course, some of us met each other here for the first time. But I think an insect just went into my eye. And we met each other here for the first time this weekend. But it's really been such good sharing and good encouragement and good inspiration that was received from the various couples here as they were also sharing on their experiences. But just some things that I wrote down from the weekend, and I believe that we can apply it, across different areas in our lives, and especially for those of you who are married today or planning to get married. So the one thing that stood out for me was that if the vision doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. And that is something that I wrote down. So, whether the vision concerns your marriage, whether it concerns your business, your ministry, your job, but wherever you find yourself today, if the vision doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. So we are encouraged to dream big, to have big dreams and goals, and to trust that we serve a God who's able to do all things in order to bring those God-ordained dreams and visions to pass. So we must not look at our natural limitations. We must look at God and trust Him, to help us accomplish and achieve what it is that we need to achieve as far as our visions and our dreams are concerned. And then another thing that I just want to also encourage you with, and it encouraged me this weekend, is that as wives, we need to pray for our husbands continuously, and we need to bless our husbands continuously. So that is something that also stood out for me. Even though I do pray for my husband, I was just encouraged, to do that more than what I've done it in the past. And then the last point as far as marriages are concerned, and especially for the wives, is that, and this I received this morning, and that is, sometimes we must just be quiet. When certain situations happen that maybe come up that challenge you, or you're not quite sure how to respond, or really what you're going through, just be quiet. And, go into your prayer closet and spend time with God. And I think that is something that also just stood out for me, is that sometimes we just need to be quiet and to allow God to do what He needs to do, instead of always trying to voice our opinions and our frustrations and whatever it is that we're going through emotionally. So these are just some of the nuggets that really stood out for me, and I can tell you there's so much more. I've got so many pages of notes that I wrote down, and I will probably be, just as we're leaving today, because this is our last day here, and you'll probably only get this recording later on when I upload it onto my page, because I wasn't able to do the live video from here. But what I want to say to you is that there's so much that I learned and so much that I took away, and I'm sure I'm going to be chewing on this a little bit more, and I will be sharing it with you. But I think, I really just wanted to encourage you that we serve a good God. God is good and He's faithful. And what sometimes seems too heavy for us to carry as individuals, we need to know that we can always depend and call on a God who's there to help us through all life's difficulties and challenges. And just one thing that I want to leave you with is that for those of you who are married, I also want you to know that marriage is a calling, and marriage is a gift from God. And anything that God gives us, we need to appreciate, we need to treasure, and we need to continuously find ways of praising God and showing Him how grateful we are for the gift that He's given us. And I think that needs to be more of our focus. And for some of you who getting it right all the time, that's awesome and well done to you. But I think for those of us, who needed a little bit of a reminder that marriage is a gift from God, and that it is a calling, and that there's something that God has called us to do, as a couple. Those of you who are out there, you and your wife, or you and your husband, God has called us to achieve a specific assignment in this earth, and there's something that only, the two of us can do. And if we are not clear on that assignment, we need to tap into God and ask Him to show us what it is that He wants us to do, because we also learned this weekend is that no one else will be able to do what God has called you to do. So you need your marriage to succeed. You need your marriage to be a success. And as Togidah mentioned earlier on, it's so important that marriages are restored. Why? Because it's going to affect the family unit, and ultimately it's going to affect communities and societies. There's a lot of brokenness in our societies today, and it's going to start by, the marriage structure being restored, the marriage unit being restored, and that will have a ripple effect, on everything else. And also, for some of you who are maybe, also still early in your journey like us, and some of you maybe recently just started this journey, I think it's good to start on the right foundation. And really, I think that's about it that I'm going to be sharing for today. But of course, I will be sharing with you more insights, as the days move along, and of course, as I just meditate more on what we received this weekend. But I'm hoping that what I've shared so far and what Togidah has shared, I'm really hoping that it's encouraged some of you already. And of course, I will be checking in with everyone next week Friday on our live reflections at 1 p.m. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my sharing. And as I said, I hope you are encouraged. God bless you, and we'll catch up soon. Thank you and goodbye.